have crippling depression.
Welcome back everyone, and today we got a deck full of some busting, some blading, and a whole lot of prayer and duct tape. Welcome to Buster Blade or Guardragon. My following build is actually based off of this build from... Anyways, that's enough beating around the bush. Let's get right into it. So first up, we are playing 3 Buster Whelp of the Destruction Swordsman, and he's here as your ideal normal summon. You want to normal summon him, because when he's normal summoned, you get to add 1 Destruction Sword card from your deck to your hand, except for itself. Also, while it's on the field, you could either tribute it to special summon a Buster Blader, that's specifically the original Buster Blader from your hand or graveyard, or if this card is in your graveyard and you happen to control a Buster Blader, you could discard 1 Destruction Sword card, including itself, special summon this card. Now then, in addition to the Buster Blader search, the other reason we like to open this guy is because you want to normal summon it, go into Link Karibo, open up a Link Arrow, have one of your other monsters be special summoned to said Link Arrow, and then depending on the amount of extenders and the amount of cards in your hand and whatnot, this will be explained during the combo segment, you gotta go off from there. But Buster Whelp is what really kickstart all your plays. Additionally, the second revival effect of itself is actually pretty handy in certain situations, although you generally don't want to see Destruction Sword cards in your hand. You usually just want to see all extenders. But by proxy, this means that opening up with more than one of itself or with Buster Blader isn't the end of the world. For the rest of the Buster Blader lineup, we are playing 1 Buster Blader, the Destruction Swordsmaster, and 1 Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. So this is the Buster Blader of choice we're using for this deck since it's effectively not a vanilla. And the other more interesting card to talk about rather is Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. So it's a level 1, it's a Dark Dragon Tuner, and of course it has the effect that when it's equipped onto a card, your opponent cannot special summon cards from the extra deck. So the Buster Blader is mainly here just to go into the fusion, and it's a bit of an extender too in a play we're going to get into a bit later, and Dragon Buster Destruction Sword is too good not to run in a dedicated build, especially since even the extra deck locking effect can be absolutely devastating against certain opponents. Now moving on, we have our Crusadia lineup, which consists of 3 Reclusia and 3 Draco. Both of these are simple extenders that can be summoned off of the aforementioned Link Karibo play, and if you can make Spathia in order to move around your Guardragons as you please when you get into that combo. However, this requires a certain degree of setup, but it depends on your hand. For our Rocket Dragon lineup, we are playing 1 Rocket Synchron, 2 Rocket Tracer, 1 Silver Rocket Dragon, and 1 Exploder Rocket Dragon. So all these guys can be special summoned off of Quick Launch, but in addition to that, they each have an individual effect that, in all honesty, we just don't use in this build. Mainly because for the Rocket Synchron's effect, we use our normal summon on Whelp, so we don't have a chance to use it. For Exploder Rocket and Silver Rocket, we never have an opportunity to trigger them. However, for Rocket Tracer Dragon, we do use its effect. Normally, we want to blow up World Legacy Guardragon, whose effect has already been used up and resolved, so it has no use on the field anymore. However, we want to make sure we do this after we summon out things that are not Dark Dragons from the extra deck. So just be wary of that, because that conflicts with Romulus, with Saryuja, with a few other odds and ends, so just that's one of the key things you have to remember with Rocket Tracer. Now then, moving on to our generic dragon extenders, we have 1 Black Dragon Collapse Serpent, 1 White Dragon Wyverbuster, 1 Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, 1 Tempest Dragon Ruler of Storms, 1 Galactic Spiral Dragon, and of course, 1 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. To go in the order I just sounded off in, Black Dragon and White Dragon are great as extenders as they can get you to your level 8 synchros a little easier, or get into Pisty or LP whenever you need them. Additionally, one leads into the other, so they get to act as a kind of 2 for 1. You know the drill. They're limited for a reason. Chaos Dragon Legionnaire is a great level 8 to bring out, and if you bring it out via all of its light effects, you get to add 1 more extender from your grave to your field. So it's great in that regard. However, sometimes grave setup can be a little bit awkward, and you'll have to end up banishing a dark for no return if you're going first. Additionally, the one other thing with him is you really want to either save him for a rank 8 play or just use him as link material. There really isn't a synchro we can make with him, so that's the only real downside to him. Next up, we got Tempest, Dragon Ruler of Storms. Now, Tempest over here is pretty self-explanatory. He needs very little introduction. However, to describe what we do with him, usually when we make Romulus to grab Dragon Dragon Ravine, we like to dump him as our primary next extender that we want to use, because it plus any of the level 1 tuners equals a big ol' level 8 synchro. In this case, however, it'll either be Boral Sword Savage Dragon or Buster Dragon. Additionally, with Tempest, in a real pinch, you could use its other effect to discard itself and one other dragon type monster from your hand in order to search a dragon. We use this very seldomly, but there are occasions where we really need to just get out of a jam. Use this, search out, say, Buster Whelp, and then we're able to actually make plays from there. That does cost us an extender. However, we also have another card that kind of fills the void, but kind of not really. It all depends. You'll see in just a moment. And that moment has come. This is Galactic Spiral Dragon, and it says when you have 2 or more monsters of either light or dark attribute on your field while this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can special summon this card. Additionally, during your turn, you can make all your monsters level 8s. Until the end of the turn, you can only use each of these effects once per turn. So with this guy, he is another prime material for making a rank 8 play. Of course, it's basically a Galaxy Eyes card. But then, in addition, you can just bring him out, use him as link material, and then he'll get banished, and that's the end of it. Unfortunately, he is level 8, so again, it's not a perfect replacement for Tempest in the situation where you have to use its first effect, but it does a pretty good job, and in all honesty, access to Hope Harbinger is just too good to pass up. You can feel free to add another copy of Levianeer here, or any other extender that you can think of, but I've been experimenting with Spiral Dragon here, and he's been working out pretty well so far. I like him a lot. Finally, we have the one, the only Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. And he is here to special summon dragons mainly from our graveyard. So how do we get to him? Well, this should be simple enough for anyone that's vaguely familiar with Guardragon variants or rockets. You use LP in order to bring him out from your deck. Then you link summon him away. Then you later use Pisty to bring him back from the graveyard. And that way you get at least 2 monsters off of it. Maybe more if you're able to pull some weird shenanigans. But yeah, Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon is one of the hearts of the deck, and I realized because of its inclusion and because of its importance, this version of the deck has a bit of a timer. For those who don't know, Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon actually has an errata that's currently OCG only, and it's looking like more likely than not rather that errata will probably be coming to us by the end of the year. My speculation is it's in Battles of Legend Armageddon, but that's just me. So while it won't be as useful at that point, I think it'll still be worth including, and the deck will ultimately just have to adapt around that restriction. I think it could still work though, and Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, for now at least, is absolutely busted. Next up for our Spell and Trap lineup, we have 3 Allure of Darkness and 1 Upstart Goblin. Simply put, these are here for consistency's sake. 1 Dragon's Ravine to be searched off of Romulus in order to dump Tempest, or just be able to dump, say, Dragon Buster or any other oddball dragon that you might need in the grave for the time being. 2, Dark Ruler No More as our end-all be-all solution to when our opponent goes first. However, 3 is a little cloggy, 2 I find okay, but at the same time feel free to tinker around with this or consider these to be flex spots. It's on you. And now finally for our last spell cards, we're covering these 9 together because they all effectively fill the same role. 3 quick launches here to grab you any of the rockets that you may need for the time being. This includes the level 7 Explode Rocket Dragon, so that gives you another way to easily access your level 8 synchros. 3 World Legacy Guardragon, which as previously mentioned, gets to revive a level 4 or lower dragon from your graveyard to your field, and then, since it's a continuous spell, once per turn you can move 1 dragon type monster in between your main monster zones any way you please. So in this case, we usually use a down pointing arrow plus LP in order to get us to our Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. And also, it's just a face-up card that you could destroy with Rocket Tracer Dragon whenever you don't really need it anymore. And 3 World Legacy Succession. This card lets you target 1 monster in your graveyard, special summon it to a zone a link monster points to. As you can probably tell, we do a lot of link summoning in this deck, so this is very convenient in getting even more extenders. However, it is a hard once per turn, so I can understand if certain people don't like it as a hard 3 of, maybe 2 at the least. And now to finally wrap up the main deck, we have Destruction Sword Memories. Discard 1 Destruction Sword card, special summon 1 Buster Blader from the deck. You can banish this card from your graveyard. Fusion summon 1 Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman, from your extra deck by banishing the Fusion fusion materials listed on it from your graveyard. Now with this card, the first effect doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at all. But the second effect, you want to dump that with Protector Whelp, which we'll get into in just a bit. Have both your Buster Blader and literally any other dragon in your graveyard, and then you're able to quick fuse on your opponent's standby phase, or even wait it out a little bit if you're afraid they might have a Dark Ruler no more, or a Kaiju or something like that, and fuse immediately into the Buster Blader fusion, locking them out of all their effects. It's effectively an on-demand skill drain. Also, just to clarify why we don't play any of the other Destruction Swordsman's cards, we just don't feel it's really worth it. The only other one that was really coming up in testing as somewhat decent was this one, whose name escapes me at the moment, but I know what it does, as it was basically a miscellaneous source for your Buster Blader cards, which, you know, helps out a lot, but at the same time, it just ultimately wasn't quite able to pull its weight, and we decided to cut it out from the deck, go super lean on the Buster Blader cards, and this is the lineup we resulted in. So while most of the extra deck is pretty generic good stuff, I will be going a little more in depth on the Buster Blader centric cards. So just to begin to rattle off all the Link monsters and whatnot, we got one Magius, one Linkuriboh. Linkuriboh is the ideal Link one that you want to go into off of after normal summoning Buster Whelp. You want to make it, then you free up a zone underneath for the Crusadia or a few other cards like Succession. So next up we have one Guardragon Pisty and one Guardragon LP. They are of course here as ways to access Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon either from the deck or from the graveyard respectively. Now then, setting up the arrows for it is a little complicated, but I mean this deck is kind of built around it, but it's easy enough, it's consistent enough, and in addition you have to be careful because this does lock you into summoning dragon type monsters, which leads us into our next monster, which is Protector Whelp of the Destruction Swordsman. And this card is made out of any two monsters. It is a dragon type too, so it breaks the Guardragon lock, and if this card is link summoned, you can send one Destruction Sword card from your deck to the graveyard, then special summon one Buster Blader monster from your hand. At the end of the battle phase, if your opponent controls no monsters, you could target one Buster Blader monster you control that did not declare an attack this turn, inflict damage to your opponent's life points equal to that monster's attack. You could only use each effect once per turn. Now the game plan with Protector of course is you want to send the trap card to the graveyard, that way you're set up for your fusion in the rest of the turn, and if you have Buster Blader in your hand because you searched it off of Whelp, well there's another link material or another resource that you have on your board. Nice and easy. The battle phase effect comes up very seldomly because generally you lock your opponent out, then you kind of smash them with everything. For our next more niche link 2, we have Crusadia Spathia, which is made of 2 effect monsters including a link monster, and it gains attack equal to the original attack of any monster it points to. A monster this card points to cannot attack, and once per turn if an effect monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, you can push it somewhere else. This combos extremely effectively with either Quick Launch or, of course, Crusadia Draco, as it gets you that LP access while being able to move it up. That way you have your zone access for Red Eyes Darkness Metal again. After that, we have Dragonian Knight Romulus, which can only be made with 2 Dragon-type monsters, and when it's link summoned, you get to search out Dragon's Ravine. So it's fairly straightforward and simple. You make it on your standard combo play, and there's not much else to really add to it. It doesn't really add to the game plan besides searching out Dragon's Ravine. After Romulus, we have Halki Fibrax over here. And Halki Fibrax, of course, when it's link summoned, you get a special summon a tuner monster, its effects are negated, and it's just wonderful extending. And not only that, since the Dragon Buster Whelp is a tuner, you could special summon that, use that for something, get it into the graveyard, then it sets up Buster Dragon for your opponent's turn. To round up our link 2s, we have Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres, which is composed of 2 Dragon-type monsters, and once per turn, if this card is in the extra monster zone, quick effect, tribute 1 card from your hand or field, return 1 face-up card on the field to the hand, and if this monster is tributed, special summon 1 Dragon-type monster from your hand or deck, but make its attack and defense 0. You could only use this effect of Heavenly Spheres once per turn. So this is kind of your end board target. You want to end with a Hieratic Seal in the extra monster zone because that's an easy bounce, and if you choose to play it, you can play Aether alongside of it. I found that to be a bit of a brick, but some people like that extra power in their plays like that. So the choice is yours. We don't play any Link 3s here, but we do play 2 Link 4s, that being Saryuja Skuldread and Boral Sword Dragon. I'm not really going to get into Boral Sword. It's really good. That's why we play it. It is technically a rocket deck, so it fits anyways. But Saryuja is actually important for the main combo. You need to make him in order to get more extenders in order to fully commit to the main combo, and that way your board isn't just kind of a flimsy Buster Dragon plus Buster Blader. Additionally, through the making of Skuldread is how you get your Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon back into the graveyard, and this is what sets up arrows for Pisty when you bring that out later, assuming you actually hit some decent amount of extenders. After that, we have one single Xyz monster, that being number 38, Hope Harbinger Titanic Galaxy, and this is just here as another spell negate, and it can be an attack redirector if they choose to play kind of smartly and go for your Hieratic Seal. And in addition to that, it is a dragon type, so if you have to accidentally lock yourself into dragons because you made Pisty and you can't get rid of it for some reason, well, here's an option at least. So for our level 8 synchros, we're playing one Boral Load Savage Dragon, and that's just because he's the best level 8 for this deck, of course. You can usually consistently get him to have 4 counters thanks to the fact you'll equip Saryuja to him, and in addition to that, he'll be a 4400 beater, so not much is going to be getting over it at the very least either. But the other card, the more important card I want to get to, is Buster Dragon. So Buster Dragon over here is made with one tuner, one or more non-tuner monsters. All monsters your opponent controls become dragon type monsters. Once per turn, if you do not control a Buster Blader monster, you can target one Buster Blader in your graveyard, special summon it. Once per turn during your opponent's turn, you can target one Buster Blader monster you control, equip it with one Destruction Sword monster from your graveyard. This is a quick effect. So the synergy here is fairly obvious. This guy not only usually gets you a Buster Blader back to use as link material, but then you get to bring a Buster Whelp back from the graveyard, equip it onto the big fusion Buster Blader, and then suddenly your opponent's locked out of the extra deck. Additionally, the turning all of your opponent's monsters into dragon type monsters is key with the actual Buster Blader fusion, so let's cover him right now, that way you can see why. So here we have Buster Blader, the dragon destroying swordsman, and he is made out of one Buster Blader and one dragon type monster, and he must be fusion summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways. This card cannot attack directly. This card gains 1000 attack and defense for each dragon type monster your opponent controls or is in their graveyard. Change all dragon type monsters your opponent controls to defense position. Also, your opponent's dragon type monsters cannot activate their effects, and that's any of their monsters in their possession, so that does include graveyard. And if this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage to your opponent. That's why in the first replay you saw that guy attacked with Boral Load Dragon and nothing happened. He couldn't use his effect because he was being treated as a dragon type monster thanks to the fact I had Buster Dragon out. So this is your main boss monster of the deck and the win con essentially. So you want to make Buster Dragon, have all your stuff be treated as dragons for your opponent, make this guy, and then they can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Then once your opponent can't play and passes it back to you, you smash. Anyways, here's the complete list. Oh, you don't quite see it? Oh, trust me, give it about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, there it is. Anyways, there's a nice list for you because people weren't quite fond of my previous format, but at the same time, I want to make it a little difficult for those who might be scrolling through the videos just to get to the good stuff. Anyways, let's move on to our replays. So starting off, I'm able to normal summon Buster Whelp, get my Buster Blader, go into Link Karibo, special summon Draco to the arrow that Link Karibo created, go into Spatha, use Succession to get Draco back, use Draco to go into LP, move LP, bring out Darkness Metal, revive my Buster Whelp, go for a Protector in order to dump my Trap card and special summon the Buster Blader in my hand right now, make Crystron Halki Fibrax in order to get the other Dragon Buster. Now I'm able to make Buster Dragon, use Buster Dragon in order to fetch back Buster Blader from my graveyard and special summon that back out. I quick launch to get another material, make Saryuja for 4, draw into an extender, use that extender, break the Guardragon lock by going into Romulus. Normally I would use Tempest to go into my Boral Savage Dragon, however I do have the Levianeer in hand, so I use its light based effect in order to special summon Buster Blader back from my graveyard, Boral Load, and then I'm able to make Hieratic Seal. Then my opponent just can't play. In this game, I brick pretty hard and I'm forced to use Tempest Effect in order to get Buster Whelp, and I'm able to go along my usual plays. However, I just have no extender, so I'm not able to make Savage Dragon alongside my full Buster combo. So in this case, I just do the Buster combo, make sure that I will be able to equip Dragon Buster onto my Buster Blader Fusion, and even though this guy's playing Zombie World, which is like the #1 counter to this deck in this scenario, he can't play because he just can't summon out of the extra deck. So due to a slight miscalculation, I end with a rather weak board. However, I also want to use this opportunity to express how Dragon Buster can be used to bait out removal, and that means that you're not putting all your eggs into the Fusion Buster Blader Dragon Buster combo right off the bat, which is, you know, good in this scenario. And also, I didn't realize this guy's playing Blue Eyes, and oh boy, he must feel bad. Anyways, thank you so much for watching once again. I hope you have some fun with the deck. I will see you guys later. And 3 World Legacy suggestion. Yes, 3 World Legacy suggestion.